Hello and welcome to another episode of FAQ Mondays. I'm your host, Fluff. If you have your own question that you would like to see on a future episode, leave a comment down below and maybe you'll see your comment in a future episode. William asks, I know you've moved away from clip locks. What's your go-to straps as of late? Well, William, for strap locks, so moving away from the DiMarzio clip locks, you need a strap lock solution and you need a new strap. To that end, I actually went back to the Super El Cheapo $15 Ernie ball straps that I used to gig with as a kid. Partially nostalgic, but other part is they're very lightweight. So briefly, I went to couch straps, which are wonderful straps. However, they were really heavy and they were kind of clunky. And I don't know, I did a tour with them and I just, I didn't jive with them. They were very, they didn't bend very easy. The Ernie balls are just a classic. And for strap locks, I use Ernie ball strap locks because I think they're the best, not having anything to do with the fact that they are from Ernie ball, but I just like the design and I like the look. It's very clean and simple. I like clean and simple. Brandon asks, what's your favorite Strung Out album? Shout out to the homies in Strung Out, my homie Chris. And Jake, what's up, dude? Favorite Strung Out album? I mean, I guess it would be Twisted by Design. For a few different reasons. I think the songwriting was at its peak for that album. That was the last album with the late great Jim Cherry. And for me, it's partially nostalgic because I was in, well, I guess I was in my senior year of high school and that album came out specifically. And that was just a really great, exciting time in my life. I was getting ready to get out of school and graduating and going to lots of punk rock shows and playing a bunch of punk rock shows. And I used to walk around with this this oversized Strung Out shirt. I found a Strung Out shirt at a local record store. I think it was Bubba Records in Kent, Washington. And they had great punk rock stuff. But the shirt that I found was like 2 sizes too big, but I bought it anyway because if you wanted to order it, it was going to take forever, and you know, sizes weren't ever guaranteed at that time because back then you didn't just log onto the website and buy a shirt. You had to use the mail order form, and fill out what you wanted, include a check, and then send it in to Fat Wreck. So it seemed like, you know, whatever. So I used to walk around and people used to be like, "Strung Out? Are you strung out?" Yes, I'm strung out, so I'm gonna advertise it on my shirt, you idiots. Yeah. Anyway, sorry for the segue. Twisted by Design. It's my favorite Strung Out album. Steve asks, you're only allowed one green pedal for the rest of your life. What is it? One green overdrive. One green overdrive. If I had to pick one, I'd pick the Maxon ST9 Pro Plus. Why? Because it has the mid shift. I can't live without that mid shift. If you don't need it, you just turn it off or turn it down. But it also has a lot of output. So if you're using it with an amp like an 800, JCM 800, or a Plexi, it has much more output than something like an OD 808 or a TS9 or anything like that. Yeah. So Maxon ST9 Pro Plus. That would be my answer. Jo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, asks, any Seymour Duncan Fluff signature in the talks? Well, Matt Ketman asks, what's the #1 skill you've learned or the best source of instruction you had that advanced your guitar playing the most? Skill I've learned, honestly, is, so when I was touring a lot, I found that I was able to play the harder stuff that was hard for me by just being consistent with my playing routine, but my playing, right? So as an example, for me, I found that, you know, when we used to read guitar magazines back in the 90s, you'd hear like, Steve Vai practices 10 hours a day, right? Practicing 6 hours a day once a week is not the same as practicing 1 hour a day, 6 days a week, physically, for me. Other people are different. I've known other guitar players that literally never practice or anything. They just pick it up and play when it's time to play. For me, as long as I'm playing something and kind of messing around on guitar, even if it's for 30 minutes a day, I will stay at a higher level chops wise or physically with my fingers and movement wise than picking up the guitar once every other week and sitting down for a longer period of time when I do sit down with it, if that makes sense, right? So when we were on the road a lot, playing, you know, an hour every single night for 3 months, I'd come home and be like, yeah, and just rip. Whereas, you know, normally in my everyday life, I'm not playing that much guitar. So, you know, I'd always come home like, man, these riffs are easy. And it's just because you're playing regularly and you're doing sound checks and you're sitting there in the green room, warming up, and then you actually play the show. And it was just much more consistent. So for me, not having anything to do with skills like, oh, I'm practicing these scales, but just playing more consistently, more often for shorter amounts of time is much more physically beneficial for me than playing longer stretches of time less often. Next question. AJ asks, what are some pieces of gear you regret selling? Oh man. So full disclosure, I get rid of a lot of stuff because I come into a ton of gear, large and small, inexpensive, expensive. It's just the nature of doing this, right? I give a lot of gear to a lot of my friends. My friends are locked in, trust me. If you're one of my friends, comment down below. No, don't comment down below. Friends, family, I give a lot of stuff to my family. My brother, Kevin. I do sell a lot of stuff just because I can't physically keep everything, man. And also, gear doesn't pay your utility bill or mortgage. Shocker, right? Okay, so pieces of gear I've sold. I regret selling that 80s Marshall JCM 800 2203 that I got for 700 bucks on the road. It ended up needing a transformer, but the transformer only cost me like 150 bucks. It was the one I reshelled, made a video about, because the head shell was fundamentally damaged and broken. The joints were toast. Ah, that sounded awesome. I just didn't have the room at the time. There's a lot of stuff I've gotten rid of because of room, honestly. And then later I'm like, I don't know if that was I don't know if that was the right call. I don't regret a lot of stuff. There has been, I wish I hadn't gotten rid of my my Rhodes Gemini, my KSR now, KSR Gemini. I really miss that amp. That amp was a really, really great amp. I had to get rid of it because I'd just been divorced and I lost my job and I started doing YouTube full time, and that was a high value item and I needed to pay my mortgage. Otherwise I had no plans on getting rid of it. And that wasn't something Kyle gave me. I paid for that amp, and I miss that Gemini. The Gemini amp that I did the first Rust Repose tour on. I wish I still had that amp. I wish I could find that amp. Yeah, Marshall JCM 800, Rhodes Gemini, and honestly, there's not too many guitars that I've gotten rid of. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I still had it. I do wish I still had my ESP LTD Ben Wyman guitar. I shouldn't have got rid of that guitar. That guitar sounded and recorded incredibly well. Yeah, those three specifically, I wish I still had. Brandon asks, guitar that you thought you liked, but never could. So a few years ago, I got it in a trade with my friend Jason. It was the first single cut Paul Reed Smith that I had. And it was a natural side and back, but white top. I think it was a custom order. I don't even know what it was. It was a McCarty, pretty sure it was a 594. And it was a McCarty single cut. And I wanted to love it so bad because it was such a great guitar, visually speaking. Not a great sounding guitar at all. I detested those pickups. The pickups were the pickups were so vintagey sounding. They had zero low end. It was all mid-range and all top end. And maybe there was something wrong with it or something, I don't know. It sounded so bad. And then I put another pickup in it. Didn't really change the fact that I hated the neck. And I think it was nitro. This particular guitar had a nitro finish. So your hand just stuck to the back of the neck. And I didn't like that guitar. I wanted to like it so bad. Visually, it was such a beautiful guitar. Maybe I've put a picture up here by now, if I was able to find one. I have one somewhere. Aesthetically cool looking guitar. Functionally, not a cool guitar, but I tried. Aaron asks, is there anything you have been gassing to try guitar/amp? Aristides. Aristides Mike Stringer guitar. I wish they made that in a 6. Maybe they'll make it in a 6, I don't know. Or maybe they do, I am unaware of it. I guess maybe the PV Decade, just because it's cool. PV Decade amp. And a Karsten amp. I think I said that last time when I was asked last question. Was this the last episode of one of these? I get asked this every single episode, so I'll keep answering it. A Karsten amp. And I think that's about it for guitar stuff. You know, I'm blessed to be able to play a lot of stuff and have access to a lot of stuff. But yeah, those three I would like to check out. That's what's it. Lewis asks, aren't all plugins created equal? Why is the Fab Filter better than the stock plugin from the DAW, for example? Thanks. You know, the Fab Filter stuff in particular is good because the sheer amount of options that are available to us is incredible. And you know, the new Fab Filter Pro Q4, saw all sorts of videos going, is it, you know, just a bunch of BS and any plugin could do this? Is nothing, it's not really that special. It's like, come on. With Fab Filter stuff, if I was a competitor to Fab Filter, if I was a plugin maker, it would be heartbreaking to know that you will never, ever make a plugin that is better than anything from Fab Filter. You can make stuff as good as Fab Filter. You will never, no one goes, ooh, this is way better than Fab Filter. Because if they say that, they're lying. The Fab Filter stuff, universally, de-esser, Pro Q, MB, whatever it is so well executed. I think we can feel that when we open up an instance of anything from Fab Filter, just as an example, right? They're so well crafted and executed. They're also really lightweight. They don't take a lot of processing power or latency. They're just really, really great tools for us to use. Bless Fab Filter. But, you know, that's not to say you can use other stuff, because of course you can. Stock DAW plugins now are absolutely incredible across all DAWs. Reaper, Logic, Pro Tools, Cubase all have wonderful stock plugins. So to that end, do you need to go out and buy a bunch of Fab Filter stuff? Absolutely not. Nope. But they are visually look pretty cool, and they have a lot of cool features for sure. Bryant asks, what's your everything went wrong gig and how did you recover? Bryant, thank you so much for your question. Everything went wrong gig. It was Drag Dunder's first time out of the United States. Our first show was Download. the Download Festival in the UK, and the airlines left all of our gear in Seattle on the tarmac, no less, because I had the key tag to prove where it was. And we were supposed to play with, Deftones, Iron Maiden, all these crazy, crazy bands. Long story short, after furiously calling people and showing them where it was and getting it, they had to load it onto the next flight, which wasn't until the next day, which was our rehearsal day. So we didn't get a rehearsal day. So basically, by the time we get the gear, I have to rush to Heathrow. I pull the gear out of customs. I have it released. I have to sign all the paperwork because I'm tour managing. I sign everything. I hump it to our hotel to throw it into the van just in time to go to the show. We have no time to set up, check the rig, check levels, check nothing. So we set everything up for the first time, loaner stuff, loaner helixes from line 6. Never used them before. We set everything up, and the UK press is down in the pit. Our record label is stage right. And everyone's like, all right, go kick some ass, guys. We keep it cool, but we were flipping out in our heads because we didn't know if this stuff even worked. We had no time to scan frequencies. We tossed everything on the stage and then we played. What ended up happening was all we heard was the click track in our ears. We heard nothing else. None of us heard nothing else. So basically all of us pop an ear out and you're ambiently listening to the PA that's blasting to, 10,000 people, and you just played the show as best you can. It was fine. It was a nightmare and you couldn't hear anything that was happening. And so basically we're all trying to follow Kalen, our drummer, even though we can kind of hear that he's slightly off from the click, but he can't really hear the click because he can't adjust his volume because he can't get to the in-ear rig, which is too far away from him. Anyway, it was awful. It was fun though, I guess. And last but not least, Guillermo asks, who were your guitar heroes growing up? Has it changed over the years as you've matured on the guitar? Thank you so much for your question. My heroes back in the day, the big one was Jerry Cantrell. Kurt Cobain got me playing guitar, but then once I got in there a little bit, the Nirvana stuff was so huge for everybody at the time, but for me, Jerry Cantrell was the guy. Jerry Cantrell was the guy that had the songs, and he wasn't widdly guy, but he was a good balance of knowing when to serve the song for a melodic lead kind of part versus when to just chunk away, right? And Dirt had been out a year when I started playing the Dirt record, Alice in Chains record, and so that was still fresh, and Jar of Flies was about to come out, and so it was Kurt Cobain, Jerry Cantrell, Billy Corgan was a really, really big influence for me. Dean DeLeo, and I really loved Filter. Filter was like one of the first bands that really came up as I was already into playing guitar and was really aware of things. I loved Brian Leisgang and Richie Patrick. I just thought they were the coolest. Silverchair, Daniel Johns was a huge influence on me as well. None of my guitar heroes were shred guys. They were all Riffs songwriting guys. Later, so I quit guitar for like 3 years. I didn't play, I didn't even pick up the guitar at all. Had my daughter, and then I heard Thrice's Phoenix Ignition on the local college radio. So Tepe Teranishi reignited my love for guitar playing. I thought Thrice was so fresh. And then the whole screamo post-hardcore thing happened. And yeah, you had guys like Ryan Phillips from Story of the Year, absolute hero of mine. His riffs on the In Wake of Determination record from Story of the Year really blew my mind at the time. But yeah, those are all my guys. I know that's spreading, 10, 15 years, but yeah, those are all the guys that really did something for me musically. And that does it for this episode of FAQ Mondays. If you have your own question that you'd like to see on a future episode, leave them down below in the comments. And with that, you've been wonderful, I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.